Spoilers, if you haven't finished the Archon quest, full spoilers ahead. I suggest finishing the Archon quest before watching this.
あなたは永遠の敵ですが勝者の栄誉は認めましょう生きてこの天守閣から去ることを許します
Omnipresence over mortals. It's definitely something. I personally think that this arc of the story was especially bad, but I still need to process my thoughts about it, so I'll have to rewatch my gameplay a few times. So I'll save my criticisms about it for another video. For this video, we're gonna go over the things the story changed for the lore as we know it, as well as a summary of new lore that was introduced in the Archon quest, and there's quite a few. First, we'll go over Baal, or should I say Bilzabal, or A. Pretty much, there was a twin sister who was also Baal's Kagemusha. Baal was called Makoto, and Bilzabal was called A. The religions where Baal was known, and in the Ars Goetia, Baal and Bilzabal were different interpretations of the same demon, and in Genshin, they're twin sisters. Baal established the shogunate, while Bilzabal was her Kagemusha. This changed 500 years ago though, when Baal died during the Cataclysm, after which Bilzabal took over the role of the Raiden shogun in Baal's stead. But she also severed ties with Celestia, but still remained the Electro Archon for some reason, and was even allowed to stop the giving of Electro Visions, which I have no explanation to why as of yet. But Baal also created a puppet where she housed herself so as to prevent erosion. Erosion being a thing that even Zhongli was worried about. Another weird thing is, we can safely assume that Baal and Bilzabal are humans who ascended to godhood. And even after A had given up her Gnosis 500 years ago after Baal's death, and Yae even mentioning that the Gnosis is kind of a useless thing now, A still remained as a god and an immortal human, which we can consider gods as a separate race from humanity now, other than just being like an ascendant version of its previous race. They're definitely immortal and can live close to forever. We don't know how long they can live, but at least 3,600 years old like Zhongli probably, even without the help of a Gnosis. A had given up her Gnosis, and Yae mentioned that it was a useless thing after she gave it up, which is kind of weird because maybe Celestia acknowledges that she severed ties with him, which is why the Gnosis doesn't work, because we know from Venti that the Gnosis channels celestial energy directly from Celestia, which gives them additional powers. But apparently Bilzabal doesn't need it to be powerful? Then does that mean that Venti is just weak without his Gnosis? Because even though he's a god, he still couldn't beat Senora? But Raiden can without the Gnosis? Maybe the gods themselves have their own power levels aside from the Gnosis itself. The Gnosis also being useless is the reason why Yae gave it freely to Scaramouche, who just took it and left apparently. Scaramouche is supposed to be this cruel, powerful individual, but apparently he honors his deals, so that's something. This actually does change a lot of things though. If the Gnosis itself doesn't give the gods their power, and they're already powerful just by themselves, then what is the Gnosis even for? And did Venti not really know how it worked? This is kind of a small retcon to Venti's explanation of the Gnosis, which begs the question why Venti, like I said, why Venti was weak if the Gnosis doesn't really weaken them that much. That is something definitely to talk about in the future. In any case, A also talked about the heavenly principles and how they stop the progression of mankind, which is the reason why Khaenri'ah was destroyed. It seems that the Archons were at least present during the destruction of Khaenri'ah. Again, even more revelations for the future. But it also shows that Khaenri'ah killed 2 gods and not just the Dendro Archon. They killed Baal as well, which just goes to show how powerful the nation of Khaenri'ah was for them to kill 2 gods. Alright, next one is a big one. Senora, she's dead. Permanently dead. Except as a weekly boss. In my opinion, they should have made Raiden the weekly boss instead of Senora. That way there was some permanence to Senoras Death instead of us just fighting her all the time. But yeah, Senora is dead. Not only is Senora's death somewhat shocking because it kind of happened very fast, but it turns out that the whole Vision Hunt decree was just a manipulation by the Fatui. While A did say that she was aware of the manipulations of the Fatui and decided to go with it because it didn't threaten her ideal of eternity, kind of a cheap reasoning of ambition hurting humans more than anything else, it was kind of a disappointing revelation that all of this was just a Fatui ploy and not really the conviction of the Electro Archon in a way. After we defeated A and just told her what actually happened, she kind of just dropped everything. She ended the Vision Hunt decree, changed a bunch of stuff, and I don't know, the whole thing was just weird and full of plot holes. In any case, one more thing they confirmed is how Delusions kind of worked. Visions feed off ambition, while Delusions feed off obsessions instead. I'm pretty sure someone theorized about this, I just forgot who. And lastly, Delusions apparently have a side effect of accelerated aging. Maybe that's the reason why Fatui wear masks, because they're all old people or something like that. But the biggest change here is that Senora has died and our next villain will probably be Scaramouche. Now some lore confirmation and changes. Oh boy. So apparently it is possible to use 2 visions. Kazuha demonstrated this for us. He became so powerful in that split second that he was even able to hold back the Raiden Shogun by just having 2 visions. Now maybe it's always been possible to use 2 visions, it's just that getting 1 vision is already difficult and getting 2 is just extremely difficult. But Kazuha being able to use both Electro and Anemo in that split second proves that it is indeed possible. Thanks to this, Kazuha was able to block the Musono Hitotachi, showing that a second vision greatly boosts the power of the user, as even Senora, albeit weakened, couldn't do a thing against the sword skill. Also seems like the ambition of those whose visions were taken was still able to scream out their ambition to the Traveler, as he took everyone's ambition and power to be able to beat A. And lastly, we have Scaramouche. After so long, we finally got to see him again, but only for like 1 minute. And Scaramouche was kind of just there for selling delusions? Like, he wasn't even there for the Gnosis or whatever had to do with Raiden. He was just there managing the delusion factory and just happened to get the Gnosis. What? Like, what? That was so weird, but I'ma save it for another video. Scaramouche was just there for show, and with Senora now gone, he will likely be our next villain. It's also confirmed by Yai that Scaramouche is a puppet created by Raiden, but is not a copy of A and just a prototype, suggesting that he has different abilities than the Raiden Shogun. It looks like he has the powers of the Orobashi, which is mired in poison and corruption, but it's something we'll find out in the future. This also confirms the 3 heads of Baal, or rather 3 bodies of Baal, that of A, the Shogun, and Scaramouche. Once again, our search for our sibling turns up empty, and our next stop is Sumeru, where we're supposed to find the Lesser Lord Kusanali. It seems that she is the current Archon according to Yai Miko. I don't know much about her yet, but I'll do research on her eventually, so stay tuned for that. And that's pretty much it for the major lore added and changed with the new story patch. While the story itself leaves a lot to be desired, the lore itself is still pretty interesting. But my thoughts about the story will come in a future video. If you want to see that, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If there's anything I missed, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Repeat after me. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3.
わらわの後に繰り返すんじゃ。あーん。